Hi, knitting friends. Shaina Bilow here. One of the questions I'm often asked by my students is how to count rows. So today I'm going to show you how I count rows both on the needles and off, and also I'll show you how to count with cables. All right. So let's start with on the needles, because maybe your pattern has asked you to work knit one, purl one ribbing, as I have here, for 20 rows or something like that. The easiest way to count knit one, purl one ribbing is to look for the purl bump. So here we see a knit stitch, and then in between the knit stitches we have these little bumps, the rows, if you will, of purl. So I'm going to start at the bottom, or actually I can put this needle straight through to demonstrate even more effectively how many rows we have here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. Or you can count this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I like counting on that purl bump when I have a ribbing. Another reason it's nice to count off of the purl bump in a ribbing is because sometimes your cast on edge can be deceptive. So here, depending on how you've cast on, you may have a stitch that's extra tall, extra short, extra wide. It might look different from these stitches here, and you might accidentally count it as a row. We do not count that in our knitting. So here was my cast on stitch right here. If I'm counting in the V's in each of these stitches rather than the bumps from purl, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is on the needle. So again here, I don't count this very first stitch at the bottom in the knit because that was part of my cast on. All I count are the rows above it, and I do count what is on the needle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is on the needle. Okay, so you do count what is on the needle, and you do not count the cast on edge. So now here I have a swatch that's been bound off already. Same concept. We're ignoring this first stitch at the bottom here because that one is part of the cast on edge. So here is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is right here, and then 17, on 17 we bound off. Right, so again, you do not count the cast on edge or the stitch that goes with the cast on. It's everything beyond it. So that kind of counting when you've bound off a piece is handy, like in the example of this sleeve, let's say you finished this sleeve on your sweater and you wanted to make a second sleeve exactly the same number of rows. You could count your rows, and now here I have a fuzzy yarn. It's a little hard to see, so I'm going to turn it over to the purl side, and I'm going to count those purl bumps straight up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. all the way to the top, keeping in mind that this last purl bump is really part of the bind off because I had to knit a stitch to pull it over. So that last one at the very tippy top is part of the bind off. Okay? So it's handy to know how to count rows because you can use it in your sweater knitting to make sure things are the same number of rows. So the back to the armhole could be the same number of rows as the front to the armhole. Now when I have a cable project, the way that I count rows is this way. I count the cable crossings. So if I know that this cable has 6 rows per cable, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, here is 60 rows from there to there, because each one of these crosses on the cable, each time the two groups of stitches cross over each other to make the cable, is 6 rows. Okay, and then from within there, if I was in the midst of knitting a project, this spot right here that's open is the row before I did the cable and the row that I did the cable on. So if I do my cable on row 1, this right here is row 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's my next gap right here where I had the next cable. So that would be my next repetition of row 1. So if you're in the middle of knitting a cable and you don't know what row you left off on, you can count the number of rows in the purl bumps from your last cable row, thereby figuring out which row you're ready for now. I hope that this helped. Happy knitting!